Hey, it's Aaron. Today I'm with a 2022 Ford Mustang Mach-e GT. The GT model is a little more high performance than the standard Mach-e. What that really boils down to is faster 0 to 60, better handling, and slightly longer range. So the range on this is rated at 270 miles per the EPA. Because I did a lot of highway driving, I was getting more like 240, but still that's very good. 0 to 60 is rated at 3.5 seconds. Since I start flat-footed, I was getting just under 4 seconds, but still that is wicked fast. This is to quote Tommy Chong, it kind of just grabs you by the poo-poo. It is so quick and fast. Handling is beautiful in this. It handles really well. It handles like a rear-wheel drive car, even though it's an all-wheel drive SUV in build. So wonderfully done. Now let's talk about some of the metrics with this, and then we'll get into design and other stuff. So for charge times on this, I ran it down to about 15%, plugged it in. I have a 240 volt 50 amp service in my garage and dedicated for a car charger, so it can charge at a full 40 amps. 80% really, that's as much as it can take. And I can charge this to full. I charge this to full from that around 15% battery left. I charged it to full in less than 8 hours. It's about 7.5 or so. That's a pretty quick charge. That's really nice. This is capable of DC fast charging, so if you have access to that, it can do that. On a 110 outlet in your garage, I don't know how long this would take. Forever. It would be probably in the neighborhood of 17 hours. I don't know. I'm just guessing, doing some quick math in my head. It would take a long time. Ford also has some special options. So if you want to get 45 miles of charge, you can do that in about 15 minutes. At a fast charger, you can do 80% charge in about 45 minutes at a fast charger. Most of us are going to be charging this at home. So I did the math. I did my usual highway loop and did the math to figure out what its fuel economy is, for lack of a better term, and it's about 37 kilowatts per 100 miles, give or take. It's really close to that. That's actually really good. It's not great. If you get the regular one, you're down to 31, so it's much better. But for a performance vehicle, that's really good. So that's kind of the metrics I have. I don't have a whole lot else to give you as far as that goes. Let's talk about the design, because I know a lot of people are saying this is not a Mustang. I beg to differ. I would say that this is my second favorite Mustang that I have ever driven. The first favorite being the Mustang Bullet that I drove 3-4 years ago. That was such a phenomenal car, but for very different reasons. So let's talk about this. Let's look at the design, and I'll talk about that a little more. So from the side here, you can see it is a fastback SUV in design. It is crossover in design. This particular one is the X, which means it's all-wheel drive. It's a wonderful look. I just want you to look at what it visually is giving you. So with the darker roof, you're getting more of that fast, because the body color, this white, really goes quickly in a circle there. But the black roof allows the roof to be a little taller, so I can actually sit in the back seat at 6'3". So if I come into the picture, you get an idea of the size. Also on the GT model, these wheels are exclusive. They look really good. I really like them. And they come with these all-terrains when you get the X, so when you get the all-wheel drive option. So what we're looking at just really quickly are some strong humps in the front to create these big fenders. It gives it a GT feel because the humps come together like this and then up in the middle again. There is a front trunk in here. I'll show you photos of that, and then the motor and other stuff is actually back here about under the windshield right about there. It's all already there. So you can see the body lines. Very simple, very rounded, evocative of the current and previous generation Mustang. So you're seeing that it, rather than create a big greenhouse line or a big belt line, it just kind of rolls a little bit and then rolls again. So you end up with a line way down here, and then it rolls in and back out to create that rocker panel at the bottom, and then the top is just an arc, just like that. Beautiful, beautiful look. And then it has the fender flares and a very well-defined rear fender back here. This rear fender really gives you that muscle feel. It really makes it look muscular. And then the tapering greenhouse, how it comes to a point back there, that creates forward movement and just keeps that "this is a fast car" motif going. So you have the fast roof and then the tapering, as the wind is cutting, right? It's just that feel of the whole thing is really cool. The lack of a big door handle is another thing. This right here is just a grip to pull on. You actually push that button to unlock the door. So I've been getting used to just knuckling it. So I put my hand in there and I hit it with my knuckle. Well, I can't do it from this angle. There we go. And open the door and close it like that. Nice setup. The rear doors open with a button up here, and the door will pop so you can grab it. I really like just the overall shape. It's very forward moving and very fast. Let's go look at the rear and at the working end a little bit, and then we'll talk about the interior briefly. So you can see on the rear end, it has the Mustang tail lights. They blink in movement towards, so when you turn on the turn signal, it blinks towards the way you're turning. Really cool thing. That's been a Mustang thing for a while. Under here is a little bubble of a button. You push that and it opens up. You can see the GT symbol and stuff. And then the cargo area. So this has the optional cargo cover, which I would recommend because that is a big piece of glass. So, but under here you've got all of this great cargo space. I can reach back and touch the seats, but only just. It's a good amount of cargo space for the size. Underneath, you've got storage for the tire inflation unit and the plug that comes with it. The plug that Ford equips this with has both a standard NEMA 240 plug and also a converter for the box that will allow it to plug into a 110 outlet. Really smart. I'm glad. I love it when I see EV makers include both because it gives you the option to use either or, and you don't have to invest in a wall-mounted unit if you don't want to. So wonderfully done. There's a 12-volt plug back here, a couple other things, and that's about it. We'll look at the front trunk in a minute, and I'll talk about that too. Real quick on the interior, it's nicely done. I'll show you some photos so you get a better idea. I really like the look. The Bang & Olufsen sound system that's in this is very, very good. Most of the controls are straight out of Ford. You'll see them in all of the little Ford SUVs and cars. So you'll see the lighting over here, the steering wheel controls. You have cruise control and stuff over here, and volume and whatever for infotainment over here. Large infotainment screen, but it's not obtrusive. You can do a lot of stuff very quickly. Nice menu system across the bottom, fixed virtual buttons across the very bottom, and then just a nice clear big screen that doesn't get a lot of glare. So couple of things to note. The instrument cluster is pretty simple. It basically shows you your miles per hour, your state of charge, and what gear you're in, and then any emergency lights across the bottom. It really doesn't elaborate, doesn't need to. You don't need to know torque values and other things because it's a one-speed transmission on an electric motor, or a couple of them in this case. Few things to note. Your visibility to the rear is pretty good in this. It's actually better than I expected. Given the body shaping, I expected to have a much tougher time seeing things over my shoulder and through that mirror. But the side mirrors are a good size, and this mirror gives a nice view through the back. You actually have pretty good vision around the car. This also happens to have 360-degree cameras. It has little details that are interesting, like the pull to open the door things, that's evocative of Ford trucks, but turned sideways, and just overall really nicely done on the interior. So I really enjoy it. I think that pretty much everything in here is well done. I would like to see cooled seats, but there are heated seats and heated steering. So in the wintertime, you don't have to use as much of your battery energy to heat the car. Let's go look at the front trunk and then wrap all this up. So I'll show you a couple of photos for a little more context, but this front trunk here is about the size of a carry-on bag. We put my daughter's violas in here. We put my son's stuff, school backpack and stuff. He carries like everything in the world with him, so it's a giant backpack. We fit more than a few things in here. So this is nice and pretty useful. You get a lot of groceries in here if you need to, anything like that. You also have like your windshield filler. You have the 12-volt access over there if you need to give somebody a jump start. And there's a little button in here with a glow-in-the-dark surround. So if somebody does get shut in here somehow, they can just push that button. But really well done. That's basically the 2022 Ford Mustang Mach-e GT. It's a lot to say. Really phenomenally well done. This has been one of my favorite cars to drive so far this year. It's just a hoot. There's so much fun with this. It corners really well. It accelerates at blinding speeds. People are always taken aback when I, make a right-hand turn onto a 40-mile-an-hour road, and then I've caught up with the person that just passed me like that. It just does a wonderful, wonderful feel to it. Lots of sports car appeal, despite it being an SUV. It handles like a sports car. In fact, it handles better than most of the Mustang models I've driven. So, like I said, I think the only vehicle in the Mustang lineup that I would put ahead of this is the Bullet, and that's purely because the Bullet was just 100% cool factor. This can't compete with that because it's just not in that same league as far as coolness. But for speed, fun driving, agility, and all that stuff, this beats the others hands down. So just a wonderful, wonderful car. And if you have to have that V8 noise, heck the chips, pipe it into the speakers that they put in there. The speakers are there so that it can make the noises so you don't run over blind people or whatever it is. And you can hack those, and you could put all the muscle V8 sounds you want on it if you feel like that. But honestly, the fact that it silently just blows by other people's cars and just takes their doors off is amazing. I had a guy in a Zero motorcycle, an electric motorcycle, stop me, and we talked for a little while. He was amazed at how fast I was able to go with this. He couldn't keep up. And then, as far as accelerating. And then I talked to a guy in a Porsche 911, an older model, and he was amazed that this was capable of that sort of acceleration. He saw me come on the freeway, and I was going 75 in a minute. It was just 30 seconds after in fact, when I merged onto the freeway, I was going more than 75 and had to slow down. And he was just amazed when I blew past him. And so this is just a phenomenal, phenomenal car. Wonderfully done. There's a lot of comparables on the market now, but honestly, I don't think I would say any of them are as good. They're all slightly different. Volkswagen ID4 is more of a family car. It's more of an everyday drive. It feels really good for that. The Kia and Hyundai models, which are related, are a little more of that family orientation, not so much for the sport. Probably the closest you could get to this would be a Tesla Model Y, and the Model Y is not as versatile as this in terms of the way you can do things in the vehicle itself. It's also a little larger. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful car. 2022 Ford Mustang Mach-e GT. That's it. This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon. Subscribe.